What they do, Scales of Balance community, is your boy Khalil Manning, as known as Snap Libra to my musical community, but to my conscious community, you could call me Anubis. Today we gather here today to have a self-realization session, and today's subject will be wills. What is a will? You know, everybody has a personal will. We're gonna get deeper into that, but before we go to wills, we're going to ask a question or answer a question in general. What's the number one rule in the universe? This will tell you how valuable your will is and how you should protect your will at all times. The number one rule in the universe is never impose yourself on another person's will. I'm going to say that again. Never impose yourself on another person's will. That means you're violating that person's space. You're violating anything to do with them. If you're forcing somebody to do something, you're violating them. If you're stealing from them, you're violating them. Anything you do to a person without their permission, you're opposing them yourself on that person's will. And that will make your will so valuable. Okay, I have the notes right here. Okay, say. Alright, say. By opposing yourself on somebody else's will, you're causing karmatic damage to yourself, because in the universe we are all actually one. I will break that word down to you and I verse, because it's like we're all on one song, but we're expressing ourselves differently. That what makes us have our own wills. And by you infiltrating somebody else's will, you causing karmatic damage to yourself, because at the end of the day we all are one. But you wouldn't notice that. You would think you're just harming somebody. Like, you have people out here doing these, you know, witchcraft spells and stuff like that. When I said witchcraft, I actually meant like the evil aspect, which that word is not evil, but we'll get to that later or whatever. So say. Now, you ask, what is a will? Most people will think of a physical will of a deceased person that they leave behind after death. You know, it's like, oh, when I die, get this to my daughter, pass this house down to my son, stuff like that. You know, that actually coincides with it, but we're gonna get to that later. Same. But what about your living will, your spiritual will? Basically, as I was saying earlier, if you was forced to do anything that was something that was imposed on your will, if anything was stolen from you or you was lied to, that was something imposed on your will. If you ever been in a domestic situation where you being hurt, or a person telling you, oh, you're not going nowhere, doing mentally harm and damage to you, that's somebody opposing yourself on your will. The definition of your will, you know, if you want to go to dictionary, the definition of a will would be the mental faculty by which one deliberately chooses or decides upon a course of action. So by a person imposing themselves on your will, they're basically violating your God-given birthright on the spiritual and physical level. Now, on the cellular level, your will is actually what it is pronounced as, not W-I-L-L, but will, like a car wheel, something that rolls. And this is on the cellular level. This is on the cellular level. The will of energy that's moving operates off your actions, which you are expressing and exposing on the world that's around you. You say, it is essential to the law of attraction because it creates your reality and separates your existence from others. This will, much like the deceased person's will, records the thoughts you want to impose and brings them into existence with the universal rule of action. It says, which means to make something happen or make a thought or a picture roll in a sequence. You get what I'm saying? So it is important that you protect yourself and protect your will, and know what are you creating in your atmosphere, and what are you bringing into existence with your thoughts and your actions. That together makes your will. Now let's go back to the cellular level. The cellular level would mean, I'm gonna go deeper because it's like you think something and then you act upon it, which makes it roll as a will, which creates a purpose or a manifestation that you want it to. So focus on your will on a personal level. That concludes this self-realization chapter, basically telling you, don't just look at a will on a physical level, look at your will on a spiritual aspect and a cellular level, and then you will have full control of your will. If you were to walk in a courtroom and you had full control of your will, nobody can have power over you.